My question is for the Premier. Premier, I love Ontario and its people, and I know that you do too. But Ontario is now a have-not province, a level that Ontario has sunk to that even the NDP under Bob Rae didn't achieve. It wasn't long ago that you were shoveling money out the door as fast as you could, handling out nearly billions of dollars to auto companies in the last few years. You didn't care what models they were producing. You didn't ask their business plans. We know full well that any job guarantees were ignored. The grants and interest-free loans that came with no strings attached. All of a sudden, now the Premier, you're playing hardball. You're playing a tough guy. All of a sudden, the Premier can tell auto companies about viability. Maybe he got an MBA when he's in China. Premier, we know that we have already seen nearly 30,000 auto sector job losses since 2005. Why should we trust your wisdom now, Premier?
Premier.
Speaker, I want to speak to the issue of have-not. There's a, I think it was in his book, Spin Wars, written by Bill Fox, I think. He coined his phrase, a convenient fiction. And there's a convenient fiction that says that when you receive equalization, you're somehow in desperate straits. I think there's an important figure for everybody to keep in mind, Speaker. This year, in 2008 and 2009, there are only 3 net contributors to the Federation. Ontario, Alberta, and BC. Yeah. Ontario contributes $23.5 billion net dollars to the Federation this year. Alberta, Speaker, $14.3 billion, and BC, $2.7 billion. Again, we are the single largest net contributor to the Federation.
Supplementary.
My supplemental to the Premier. Methinks the Premier protesteth too much. Facts are the facts. The fact is that Ontario is now a have-not province, something we have never achieved before, even under the government of Bob Rae. The warning signs in the auto sector have been around since 2005, Premier, but you did nothing until the problem turned into a crisis, and it's a common theme of your government. We saw it with public finances and the looming recession, and now we see it with economic development and manufacturing. Your 5-point plan is a flop. Your retraining scheme is a failure. Red tape is on the rise. Small businesses are overtaxed, and the only thriving sector is the bureaucracy. Everything and everyone around the world is adjusting and shifting. The G20 came out with a 5-point plan, but you've done nothing. Premier, as the auto section and industry changes to survive, will you think beyond the short term and fundamentally change your auto policy so that we can ensure a competitive auto industry?
Premier.
Well, Speaker, I'm finding it hard from one question to the next to figure out where the Conservatives stand with respect to support for the auto sector. On the basis of the first question, I got the sense that we should not touch this with an 83-foot pole. On the basis of the second question, I'm hearing that there may be some grounds for providing additional support to the auto sector. Speaker, I want to make it clear as to where we stand on this side of the House on this issue. We are not prepared to forego 400,000 direct and indirect jobs. We're not prepared to forego the mainstay for 12 Ontario communities. We're not prepared to forego some $28 billion in wealth generated on an annual basis by our auto sector.
Right.
North Americans will continue long into the future to buy millions and millions of cars. We want to keep making those cars in the province of Ontario, Speaker. We will find a way, working with the federal government, with our workers, with communities, to support a stronger auto sector long into the future in our province.
Final supplementary.
Thank you. Thank you for that applause. Premier, if success is measured by results, then the devastation in Oshawa, St. Thomas, Windsor, and the rest of southwestern Ontario means that your auto investment strategy has got a big F for failure. Premier, the auto industry experts agree the big three must restructure and to be viable and competitive in the future. In the past, you have shoveled money out the door to them, almost $1 billion, and the results have been wanting, extremely wanting. It has got us to where we are today. Premier, when you will restructure your strategies in this sector, will you end your reckless patchwork policy and move towards a plan that fosters innovation, competition through a broad-based, level playing field?
Premier.
Speaker, we want to work with the sector to ensure that they continue their transformation. I think, in fairness, Speaker, we should acknowledge that the sector has been going through a very painful period of transformation. That has manifested itself in a number of ways, including painful job losses for Ontarians. In the midst of this painful restructuring, they were then blindsided by this global economic crisis. It has resulted in some liquidity issues, Speaker. They're having difficulty maintaining their ongoing operations, maintaining payment to suppliers, continuing to maintain jobs which are important, all important to Ontario community, Speaker. So we are fully seized with the urgency of this matter, as is the federal government and the Prime Minister, Speaker. We want to find a way to move forward in a way that's respectful of taxpayer interests, also mindful of the contribution.
New question.